Welcome to Friendly Legal Babble Instagram edition. I am your host. I'm Nemo, and I just thought to come here for a minute to tell you about my experience today attending day one of the West African Capital Markets Conference. Um, it was a good event. It was a packed event. A lot of people there, a lot of speakers there. The registration process was a bit rough around the edges, but it was okay. It didn't take a lot of time for it to be sorted out. Just one of those go here, go there, blah 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 blah. But on the substance of it, I enjoyed the topics. I think a lot of it was focused on the people speaking, sponsors speaking, and then speaking about what they've done, and then to an extent their complaints. Funny enough, the person that highlighted issues the most was the person that was representative of the government. That is Mr. Tope Fasal. I hope I'm pronouncing that name right. But he was the one that made the most comments about like the issues in government and or the issues with regulation and regulation being an issue, and also just the economic factors concerning or that would affect people investing, everyday individuals like you and I investing in the capital market. One of the things he mentioned also was the fact that if the capital markets could even expand for people to be involved in investing in what we now think of as public goods, that would also help the market. And so one example he was giving was whether the Gencos or Discos, if I remember clearly, at some point some of them were public or listed entities. I'd have to check that again. But he was not saying that if these people were listed or these were public entities, basically the same thing, that if they were public entities, that we would now be able to demand for the and like demand essentially for them to live up to the expectations and meet the objectives, which is something I can't lie, I honestly thought about a couple of years back. And if it doesn't even make sense, sorry, I'm not sure, but it was something I did mention, or I think maybe to a friend in passing, that if you were directly involved, invested in these companies, then we'll be able to demand from them and also command, like, if you don't know this, you're out. If you don't do that, you're out. Because the way it's working now is there are a couple of companies that have connections. Yes, they're public bids and stuff, but they have connections, and then it is these companies that get the bids, and there's these companies that have that enjoy or enjoy in quotes the contracts without actually fulfilling their goals. Now, I don't want to go into the nitty gritty of whose fault it is, but I just thought to mention for a bit that there is that also factor of people being invested in public entities directly with their own cash. But on the other hand, the thing I thought about was, if people are directly invested in public entities, let's say only leave the regulatory aspect of how that's going to work, because there are millions of us in Nigeria. But if people actually directly invested in public entities, then why am I paying tax, man? Like to what extent is my tax working if I'm directly in charge? I'm paying for every other single thing. If I'm investing in the road, if I'm investing in light, if I'm investing in hospital, like, is that not what I'm doing already by paying taxes? So it's one of those things that maybe there's a way we need to work around it. Maybe there's some merit to the comments, but I don't really need to gritty of how that's going to work. I think another thing that I also thought about, and this is actually now away from the substance, but just on the structure, I think I'm now hating panel sessions, because there are just so many people, and panel sessions are usually a diverse group, and you have a diverse group of people and they're all speaking on their areas of expertise, but at the end of the day, there is barely any time for them to go into the substance of their specific area. So you would have somebody that is speaking on well, capital markets investments now, and then you have somebody from government, you have somebody from I think there's a credit guarantee on one of the panels, you have somebody from the private who is a financier, you have maybe someone from like a pension pension house, also pension management company, and then you have all these groups of people together, and they're all on the same panel, and they're talking, you're asking them general questions on their experience in the capital market. Clearly, everybody's just going to give like a tiny bit of what is happening in their sector, but they're not going to go in depth on it. So really, the question is like, what was I want more. You're giving me teasers. I want the real gist. Like I want to go into the full gist of it. If you're complaining to me, you're telling me how this is what you've done, I want to understand how you've done it, how you structured that deal, why you structured that deal that way, how you were able to expand to get those for investors, how and why did you make certain decisions? Is there any issue with the current regulatory system that you think hindered that process? I really want to go into the depth of it. I want panel sessions to be like therapy, but for corporate issues, I want you to go down into it. I didn't get that. In fact, there was one of the sessions where one of the moderators or the host at some point actually just told the group of panelists that when they are done with their session, they should just step down from the stage or something. Like the way he said it was basically just get out here. It's all right. Evacuate. Be moving. So I think that was a bit rushed. But generally speaking, I liked it. Again, I wish there was some depth to it. The networking aspect too. Honestly, with a session like this that people are paying tens of thousands of naira to attend, or a program like this, I really would hope that this kind of events going forward have more breakout sessions and even randomize it. So if it is possible in the event where you're having a paid session and people are coming, these are experts and so in the industry, clearly if anybody's paying that amount of money to come here, they want to get that networking experience, they want to meet people, they want to learn more. I think it would really be helpful if I think we would have scrapped one or two of the sessions and then had a breakout session for people to mingle in groups. And even the way the organizers could have done it, they could have randomized even by number of registration or so. If you're registered number one to this, or odd numbers or this or that they would have allowed people to sit down together, mix, network, speak on issues, and people would have also had more of an opportunity to voice their own concerns. For me, for example, one of my concerns is that the capital markets, the way it is now, they need to pay lawyers more. The Securities and Exchange Commission has its regulations, and the last I remember, I believe I'm right, the rules are so strict that the fees that lawyers can get paid for certain transactions is capped. My guy, why are you doing billions of transactions on a deal and I'm only getting like a percentage of a percentage of a percentage of a percentage? It's too much now. See, you don't want me to, all the years I spent learning law, all the years I spent reading, studying on your area of expertise, cut me some slack. So I think that has to be changed. That's one thing. But on a more serious side, I think that one of the changes that need to be made really is for there to be a meeting of minds on the technicalities of infrastructure financing, because primarily that's what it is, the topic of the topic of the event is primarily on the nitty-gritties, because professionals will have their own idea, the brokers, the trustees, the fund managers, all these people, all the parties to it will have their ideas of how the transaction works. And for the most part, the financial part of it, they have that understanding, and then that's even separate from the core infrastructure, like I said, managing itself. And then that's also not separate from the professional advisors, because it gets to a point you only invest, you're only participating in the transaction to an extent. So I think it would be really helpful if more of these events went into the nitty-gritties of the how. And I'm not saying all those webinars or workshops, yes, workshops especially will be helpful, but I think the sessions really should be able to allow people that are in the system to give more practical example, because scenarios have a way of painting and giving your mind that understanding, that idea. Okay, what is, like when you're structuring a transaction, when you're advising on it, they're giving you that perspective of, okay, there's more to this than just the regulatory aspect of it. There's more to it in the sense that there's some practical considerations in just the execution of it that we probably should take into account when we're drafting. This happens a lot. When I'm working with a client, I tell the person straight up, I need to know, what do you need? Like, how does this work? I want to know the practicalities, because that helps drafting. So I really think that is one thing that some of these conferences should help out with. Even if it's not a lot of sessions, just one session, you could, especially if it's something that's public, nothing stops you from breaking down the transaction, and then you just really going into it, explaining what it is. And if it is a sponsor, that really is just one way of them explaining and putting themselves out there that this is something that they've done before. and even advising or calling for different structures and different changes that would help in the long term to build the ecosystem. So that's just like one of my thoughts on it. The last thing I would speak on is investing as a layman, as an amateur. So today, a couple of the speakers spoke from the side of their mouth, not a lot, but just a few, of them bringing in more people and how like everyday individuals can contribute, can participate in the system. But on the other hand, for you to invest in the capital market, you need to have experience, especially on a certain level. And I say need because, okay, let me not say need. You should, to an extent, understand the system. I invest, but there's only so much I can track. I'm not a professional, so I can put a certain amount of money with a stockbroker, and then they would manage it. But on the other hand, it's not something I can go and sit down there like those people that are doing forex trading or whatever it is. It is quite risky to put your money there, especially since you don't know when you're going to get that money back, and you don't even know what to invest in. So I know a lot of times people that do investment trainings, they advise people to invest in what they know. So I use a Samsung phone. Apple people, don't track me. I use a Samsung phone, and so I can invest in Samsung because I've been using Samsung for years. Somebody that uses Apple can now also choose to invest in Apple because they've used Apple for years. They trust it, they trust the brand, they believe in the brand. So that's one thing to do. Or they even say start investing small, so you can invest in bits so that long term it grows. That is one aspect, and that does make a lot of sense. But it now depends on why somebody is investing. And really speaking, with the way the naira has been narrowing in the most negative way possible, do I really want to be investing long term and just putting in the small money I have left there? Maybe not. I still agree with the points that invest as little as possible. Little drops of water make a tiny ocean, and invest as little as possible and invest in things that you know. But I also think that we have to be honest with ourselves that the way the naira is set up, a number of people, they tell the stories of how their parents had bought stocks years ago, and at the end of the day, when the parents wanted to cash in on those, like the stocks had become worthless basically, or that if they had put that money that they used to buy stocks in dollars instead, that it would have made way more money. And that really is just because it's Nigerian system. I suppose in other countries this same issue might not be applicable, but this is what we're dealing with in the Nigerian system. And so there's that issue, and there's basically a breach of trust that we don't trust the Nigerian economy to survive. So why would people invest in that? I have been investing through some of these apps in foreign stocks for a while, but I only made my first Nigerian investment in a stock this year. I only made it this year. So that's just one example of how things could go south. Not how things could go south, or how things could be difficult to invest in. So it's easier said than done. And I know that there's an app now that is offering the services of trying to democratize even investing in startups. That one I don't know, because even the people that tend to invest in startups, the VCs and the private equity firms that tend to invest in startups, they have the money to lose. We don't have the money to lose. This is basically like next level gambling, because that company doesn't even have traction for you to say I trust in it. But I do like the idea, again, the democratization. I just feel that there really needs to be a balance to how the conversation goes around bringing in younger people or less knowledgeable investors into the capital markets, because we have to admit the reality of the situation that given the Nigerian economy, it is easier said than done, and there are issues that concern that. So even if you're trying to invest in it, you think to yourself, if I invest in this in naira as opposed to me investing this in dollars, that what is the difference going to be? So I think that there needs to be that honesty, and there needs to be a lot more training that on what the system is, so people go in there with not too many expectations, and there's a certain level of, I don't want to call it desperation, but need, just given the economic crisis, cost of living crisis, that there's a need of getting some money relatively quickly, or like making that quick change, or having relatively quick access to your funds. So if I invest in piggyvest, I know I'm going to get my money back in a short while. Well, there are also those options in capital markets. If you invest in bonds also, or commercial papers, you have an idea of when you're going to get your money back. But it's slightly different from you investing in more flexible savings options like they have with the new savings apps going around. And also access to this is very, very important, because it is way easier for me to buy or to save in forex through one of these apps than for me to save in forex through any of the traditional banks. The process is just so lengthy, it's just so long. Sometimes you have to go directly to the bank. Why can't I just, like, I have the app on my phone? Why? Even with GT, if you have an account with GT and you have a DOM account with GT, for you to use your GT card, you cannot directly deposit money into your GT card. You have to deposit money into your GT DOM account, and then from that GT DOM account, send that money to a separate card account. Again, why making things so difficult? Where is the ease? And if it is difficult, my God, I'm begging them, traditional systems, put FAQ, put it on your website, put it on your app, put it everywhere. Let us understand the reason why. If it is the government, tell us it's the government that's not allowing us to make this thing easy for you. Just why? Anyway, I think this is the end of my rant. I had my notes with me, but I was just, going as the spirit led. And I hope you enjoy this. And just reach out to me if you have any questions. Again, my name is Nemo, and I don't know if I had mentioned before that I'm a lawyer. I've been practicing for a decade. Even I'm shocked. I've been practicing for a decade, and I primarily focus on corporate and commercial law. And then within that space, I'm properly fully invested and interested in banking and finance. So see you next time I decide to speak, and please feel free just to make a comment or so. I don't mind. I also use the opportunity to say that going to these conferences and networking is not agreeing with my spirits. Meeting people is not always agreeing with my spirit. So if you by accident see me outside, just say hi. I'm friendly. I'm not a very okay, let me not lie, I'm not going. But I'm a friendly person, so you can say hi to me and I'll say hi back. And this is the end of today's rant on day one of the West African Capital Market Conference. I'll probably go tomorrow, but I'm not sure I'm going to make any recording on it because tomorrow's a long day for me. But this has been fun. Bye.